Hi, everyone, and welcome to my home office. As you are well aware, the library staff is working remotely from home at this point. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been having some trouble really getting into a book. And normally I get sucked right in. I want to know how the story ends. I read until I can't read anymore and really enjoy myself. But lately it's been kind of hard to get focused and centered and concentrate on things for long periods of times. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's feeling that way, but it happens. Sometimes we just need shorter little bits of things that we can digest and move on and work on other activities in between. So I'm hoping that changes when this is all over and I can get back into my normal reading pattern. But for right now, that's where I am. So I've accepted it, and I am fortunate because I brought home this lovely little book from the library, Ethics for Young People by C.C. Everett. This book showed up in our donation bin probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm extremely grateful to whoever chose to donate it. Often we get older books like this in our donation bin, and they aren't necessarily things that we can add to the collection or that we would sell in the book sale. They're just often not as popular as the newer titles, but it really piqued interest for the staff, and we pulled it out and set it aside and spent some time looking through it. It's always fascinating to take this historical look back in time. This book was published in 1893 in Boston by a publisher called Jen & Company. C.C. Everett, the author, was a divinity professor at Harvard University, and he wrote this book, Ethics for Young People, in the late 1800s. So we thought, how might this message differ from the message that we send to young people today? And of course, there are lots of obvious ways that it would differ. Our society has changed drastically in the last 130 years. But there are some messages in here that really stand up to the test of time. So I used this opportunity to flip through the table of contents and select some chapters that I thought might speak to me right now. And I wanted to share some of those with you today. So I'm going to start with a passage from the chapter on contentment. This is something that I think a lot of people are struggling with right now, just being content in where we are and accepting the changes to our lifestyles that have occurred in the last few months. So I'm going to read a passage from chapter 16 on contentment. For contentment are needed both the fortitude and the courage of which we have been speaking. Fortitude to bear cheerfully whatever may be disagreeable in the present, and courage to meet bravely the uncertainties of the future. The habit of discontentment is something like cowardice, as cowardice sees all possible elements of danger, but does not see the elements of safety which far outbalance the others. So discontentment sees only what is unpleasant, and overlooks the mass of pleasant things which for the most part outnumber them. I think this really rings true today as we look at the way that this shelter-in-place order has inconvenienced our lives and the things that we aren't able to do. But I know that for me and for my family, it's opening up all of these wonderful opportunities to be outdoors, to spend time together, to cook meals together. My 2 college-aged daughters are home from college, and we're getting this wonderful opportunity to spend time with them that we wouldn't otherwise. So this chapter really spoke to me, particularly right now during these times, and helped me recenter and refocus and remember to look at the good and to remember that often the good outweighs the bad. So that one was really of particular comfort right now. The next chapter that I chose to read was a chapter on education as duty, and I liked the title of that chapter. The idea of education as a duty to oneself, to our society. So I read that chapter and came across another piece that really spoke to me, especially as a librarian, because it focuses on reading and because reading is something I'm struggling with a bit right now. So I thought I would share this little excerpt. Think what a gain it is to simply be able to read, and to read intelligently, and to love to read. As soon as one has accomplished this, all the treasures of knowledge and the thought of the past are open to him. It is as if the key of a great treasure house were put into his hand and he were told to go and help himself to whatever he would have. The same is true of whatever is taught at school. Each study, well pursued, puts a key into the hand of the scholar, by which he may unlock one of the doors of the world which would otherwise be closed to him. But after all, the mind itself is the best tool, and the best thing that the scholar learns at school is to use his mind. So I thought that passage was fantastic. Again, not only because it refers to reading, and of course I love reading and know how that opens up a world to people who might otherwise feel trapped in many ways, and helps people learn new skills and process new concepts that have been introduced. But this idea of education as a duty to oneself really spoke to me. I know a lot of people right now are using this opportunity during the shelter at place to learn new things and to study new things. And I think that an active mind and pursuing those things can be really, really helpful during a time like this. So I thought I would share that as well. The next chapter that I read was on self-control. The minute that I saw this in the table of contents, I thought, okay, I need this right now. Like many others, we're stuck at home, we're baking more, we're cooking more, we're eating more because it's here, it's something to do. I've seen some really funny memes online of people putting notes on their fridge, saying, you're not hungry, you're bored. And it's absolutely true, in my house anyway. So I read this chapter on self-control just to see what kind of insight Everett could offer on that concept. So I'll read you a little excerpt from this one. Chapter 22, Self-Control. One of the most important lessons which one has to learn is that of self-control. The person who is without self-control does at every moment just what he feels like doing. He will speak the words that come into his mind, no matter how cruel or unkind they may be. He will eat what he feels like eating and drink what he feels like drinking, no matter how harmful that thing is. He is like anything else that is untrained, like a troublesome child or a dog that has never learned to mind. Only in this case, it is himself that the person has never been taught to obey. It is worthwhile sometimes to keep from doing something that is not harmful but is very tempting, simply to see that one has this mastery of oneself. Just as we forbid a dog that we are training to do this or that, not that there is any harm in doing the thing, but so that he may learn to mind our word. So this one I really took to heart, and I've been reminding myself every time I approach the fridge to practice that concept of self-control and to ask myself why I'm making that choice, and to encourage myself to stop and not act out of habit, but to consciously make those choices. So I hope that's helpful for other people as well. The last passage I'll share with you today is from the chapter on courage. We all have a great many unpleasant things to do in life, and a great many persons make themselves much extra and needless pain in such ways as I have described. They lack courage and resolution. So instead of doing the things at once and being through with it, they multiply the evil over and over again by hesitation and dread. Every person should make it a principle to train himself to quick resolve and action in all these matters. If there is a hard or unpleasant thing to be done, he should take pride in facing it at once like a man. I think that this really speaks to what we're all going through now as a community. I know we miss each other. We miss having you in the library. We miss the opportunity to have conversations with you face to face, to answer your reference questions, to provide you with support as you file your taxes or complete the census or whatever may be going on. But this is the thing that we have to do right now, and we must face it with courage. So thank you to C.C. Everett for his words of wisdom that have withstood the test of time. I'll continue to go through the book, and if I find other interesting things, I'll share them with you. If you're also interested in reading this book and you want to look back at that historical perspective and read more about Everett as well, I'm going to share in the links. This book is in the public domain. It's available for free, unlimited simultaneous use on the Internet Archive. So I'll share that link below in the comments. If you want to take a look, you'll be able to see the entire book. And if you want to learn more about the author, I'll share a couple of articles that I found from our JSTOR database that relate specifically to the author and his teachings and his life that I found kind of interesting as well. So take care, friends, and be well. We look forward to seeing you all back at the library as soon as we can.